Welcome to another episode of Good Sugar. I am Ralph Sutton. With me, as always, is Marcus Antebe, who just moved into a new apartment. So throughout this episode, you're going to see various areas of his apartment.
Of an empty apartment.
Where to be echoey the most. So a couple of quick things, Marcus. I always like to give updates on last time we were on. One, you gave me a homework assignment of meditation. And two, I still always give updates on my running. I don't remember if we did it or not last time, but my last time I ran was the longest ever. I did 12 miles. And then someone had told me about this, which I never really thought about. But while you're running, I mean, it's 2 hours and change, right? You deplete so much energy that towards that last mile or two, I'm just kind of running by like just by second, motor skill, not even thinking straight, just going. And then a friend of mine who runs, my cousin actually, Ralph, told me, you got to get some sort of energy, like paste, he drinks a paste that he eats along the way after like mile 9 or 10, or there's no way you're going to go further. Have you ever done long distance running where you need to do that or no?
Yeah, of course, but I would not intoxicate your body with that garbage. You don't need that. It's in your mind.
But so you're saying you don't do anything? You don't think you need anything?
First of all, look, it's one thing if you're running across the desert and you're doing 100 miles and you haven't had food for days before and you're being chased by...
You don't think the fact that I feel like I'm barely conscious at the end
of it's in your mind.
And I have a headache the rest of the day.
You felt all those types of feelings along the journey to getting to 12 miles and you overcame that with your mind. And so... Okay, look, if you need that type of energy, like you just feel like you're dying, well, drink some apple juice on the way.
Right. Maybe just bring
it's going right into your system. It's giving you exactly what you think you need. You don't need to have all these essential things and that thing in that moment. You need it afterwards as you recuperate.
Yeah, I do this thing that's like a electrolyte replacement thing,
right?
That I drink. But
you're looking at your chemistry in such a snapshot glimpse. It's not as though you're in a deficit. You live in a Western world. You're eating well. You're showering. You have a generally happy mindset. You're voluntarily running 12 miles. You're not running away from people with machetes. So there's a whole different
thing. Look like Frankenstein, so sometimes that does happen.
Right. So really the work that you're doing the week before is going to have an impact on that run.
Well, I run 3 times a week. Day. Just that one day is a very long.
I'm just saying you're a week ahead in your chemistry.
Right. Okay, I got you.
And maybe it's 4 days for some people. Maybe some people are so sensitive they're a day ahead by what they eat for how they perform the following day.
That makes sense.
The idea is that you're taking a highly processed substance and you're saying, "Let me feed this to my body instead," and it's not the right approach.
Okay, fair enough. And now the second thing I've been doing, which is the meditation thing, I'll tell you exactly how I'm doing this. You may or may not like it, but this is what happens. I get up in the morning, I do my standard nonsense of the apartment, which I don't need to get into, but like I clean everything because I'm OCD. If I have to do laundry or whatever, just get ready for the run, whatever. But then when I'm all ready and all that part is done, I sit at the edge of my counter, on my couch, and I say to Amazon, I don't want to say its name because it'll turn on, but the Amazon device, start a 3-minute timer.
Alexi.
It's not going to hear you. My headphones are on. And
sorry.
It says, I say start a 3-minute timer, and it says 3-minute timer started. And then I just close my eyes and try not to think about anything until the timer goes off. That's what I've been doing.
Well, how's the not think about anything been going?
Not easy, not at all. So far, I would say if I had to give myself a grade system, it would be realistically a C-, maybe a C.
Yeah, I wouldn't nullify the value of what you're doing by giving it any kind of grading system. The fact is you're doing the most difficult part is you're just showing up for this ridiculousness,
right,
with the faith that something might happen. And so the first thing that I would make the meditation is in the observation of what does pop into your mind, and watch how that happens, and just say, oh, I think about this thing all the time, or this is a new thing I'm thinking about, or I'm bored, or whatever pops up into your mind. Start to become conscious of these different distractions, we'll call them. That's the first step.
Okay, it's only been like 5 days of it so far, so we'll see what happens.
That's a lot, We've been, when I talk to my mom, for example, for 18 years about doing 2 minutes of meditation. She's been saying the same response for 18 years. Oh, that's great. That sounds right. Wow, you've explained that so well. I'll speak to her a week later and I'll say, how's it going with the meditation? I didn't start yet.
I can ask you if this is a separate question, though. Could you move around your apartment more? Is that possible?
I'm trying to find locations that are comfortable. I'm sorry. I forgive me. I'm trying to professionalize my performance, but I have a lot of distractions in the
well, there's
my
nothing in your
regular day job.
Okay, fair enough. And then
Thank
the
you.
other thing I want to tell you very quickly is,
Did you understand what I just said?
Of course I did. Yes, I did.
Repeat it back to me.
I'll give you the right answer, the way to say it. The hardest thing to do is start, and some people have the hard time doing that. You've done that part already, so don't overanalyze it. We'll worry about it as we go forward.
And also, a lot of people will actually say, "Okay, well, what do I do next? I don't think I quite understand." And I gave you a very simple but extremely important thing is to just become an observer for 3 minutes. Like, wow, this is what's going on in my head all the time. And then when you start to observe that, you'll have the next revelation there, which is I can't stop the noise in my head. I can't stop the noise in my head. Isn't that somewhat part of our life's problem, that our brains are just constantly firing stuff and we go in every direction, distracted. And then we can talk about what we're actually distracted from. So take it step by step.
I'm not judging anything yet. I've only done 5 days. I'm not looking at it.
Okay, I'm proud of you. You're a doer, man. You
are or negatively.
This show should be called Ralphie the Doer.
Okay, that's fine. We'll rename it a third time. Let me just say this. So we don't have much time. We have a guest today I want to bring on. I'll tell you really quickly how
excited.
So I, for the first time recently, and we'll get into it later as well, I did a Peloton run, and I was amazed by it. And I just started looking up Peloton people, and there was this girl that is woman, probably less insulting that way. That is was a senior Peloton instructor that went out on her own not that long ago, started her own method, and in phenomenal shape. She's been on all these different morning shows. I saw her on The Doctors. I saw her everywhere, and we reached out, and she came on the show, and I think she's fantastic. Her name is Jennifer Jacobs, and I think she's got some interesting takes on the world of fitness.
Well, in my due diligence of her, the things that she teaches is she is in a positive way steering people away from getting caught up in the fad diets that are going to actually do more harm for people than good.
Fair enough. I like it. Let's bring her on. All right, we've been talking about it long enough. Let's bring her on right now from the new method. It's called the J Method, thejmethod.com. Let's bring on Jennifer Jacobs. How are you, Jennifer?
Very good. How are you both?
Good. I'm going to say this right now. I don't know if it's the lighting. I don't know if it's your diet, but you look far more vibrant and alive. I look somewhere in between. Marcus looks like he's about to die. I look in between, and you look like you just had a very nice juice cleanse or something, and you feel healthy and vibrant.
Definitely not a juice cleanse. I'm not about any of those type of things, but it's that New York bright light here.
No, we're all in New York City? Is that what's happening right now? We're doing the New World Today Zoom. That's pretty wild. Yeah, especially now that, as I think it was yesterday, the schools closed down. So it's just we're going to be in front of the lockdown very soon. First of all, thank you so much for taking a part of this with us today on Good Sugar. And you hit on something right off the top of the show here that I found fascinating. I went on your Instagram, and you're eating a giant donut, and you say, I don't believe in diets. I don't believe in cheat days, which is a very anti message from a lot of other people we've had on the show. And I'd love you to elaborate a little bit on that.
Sure. My pleasure. I am anti-diet culture for sure, because I've had a lot of experience with my clients over the years, over a decade, helping them lose weight. And those diets don't seem to work. They seem to confuse a lot of people. And that's the greatest thing about the fitness industry. It's why it does so well, is because of the confusion. The more things you can sell. My principle on that is, if you can buy something that says the diet on it, it's not good. Like now you see in the stores keto chips or keto this or paleo that. So my method when it comes to nutrition is eat well. Eat foods that are dense in nutrients. And that's something you can see. You can see it on your plate. I have a method with my clients. It's called a photo food log versus logging your macros or using my Fitness Pal, which can drive a person insane. It's taking visual photos of what you eat throughout the day. And you can tell somebody who's eating a food lacking in nutrients. It's going to be a lot of beige, a lot of white, a lot of packages. And then somebody who's eating fruits, vegetables, plants, lean meats, whatever their liking is. So I'm anti-restriction, more for eat what fuels you.
Okay, so where does the donut fall in that category right there?
The donut falls in between. Obviously, it's not full of nutrients by any means. It was after
by the
a
way,
workout.
ironically, I think it was beige also, by the way.
It was beige. It had some blue sprinkles. They were celebrating the LA Dodgers in LA with this donut. It happens to be one of the best places to have a donut. So why not? But for me, I wanted something that tasted good. I wanted something after a workout. So that was a good time to take in those type of calories. But by no means is that full of nutrients. And that wasn't a way to promote a cheat day by any means, because people kind of go off over the edge on those.
Right. I mean, Marcus has been vegan for 150 years, and I am trying to just be a better person when it comes to what I'm putting in my body and how I attack the day every day, physically as well. And I think that people like me, which I would put me more in the average guy category, that has issues with, if there's donuts in my house, I'm going to eat them. If there's sugary crap in my house, I'm going to eat them. So I just don't buy it, because then it eliminates the chance. Like if you're trying to be vegan, don't go to a butcher shop. It's probably a good idea. So for me, I've been trying to fill the house more with fruits, vegetables, cleaner proteins, etc. But the problem is that there's a thing called fucking Seamless that you can order donuts in 30 seconds that I've been bouncing back to get that crave out of my system. And what I have found personally, that first donut, then it's over for me for a month, because I know it's that sugar's in my system. So for me, even doing what you did, which I get it, when you're you or Marcus, you have the ability to turn that off a lot better than I do, if that makes any sense.
Discipline. All comes down to discipline. I think when people put themselves on restrictive diets, they eliminate so many other options, right? And that makes you want those options even more at times. And it comes down to being disciplined. The diet only works, or the way you are treating food only works if you can sustain it. Most times people can't sustain that lifestyle of being in a ketogenic status. Most people can't sustain intermittent fasting, which is another thing I consider a restrictive diet, not restricting the type of food you eat, but restricting the hours in which you're eating. So that's another way to develop poor associations with food and make you want to have that binge craving Seamless, let's order everything for the next week.
Yeah, I mean, it's embarrassing. I've talked about it on the show before with Marcus. There are times when I'm sitting and watching television and I'm taking in and out of my Seamless cart a dessert. Like I put it in, I'm like, no, what am I doing? I take it out, put it in, what am I doing? For like a good hour. And then finally it gets out of my system. If I can last like 25, 30 minutes, it goes away from my system and I can move forward. One of the other, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Well, you said people like us, but even people who are on a fitness journey of trying to maybe say it's weight loss, that whole mentality of, if I have it, then I've ruined everything, that needs to be eliminated as well, because we're all going to have these moments where we're around people, we want to celebrate something, we have these associations that food helps us do these things. So take that whole way of thinking out, and that'll help people along their weight loss journey for sure.
I think that we have some really good similarities.
Marcus, bring the mic very close to your mouth because it's way too echoey.
Okay, sorry. Can you hear me good?
Much better.
We definitely have a lot of common ground in the way that you're teaching. I just completed my first book on nutrition, and really what I'm doing in that book, even though I have the word diet blasting on the cover because I think that attracts people, what I'm trying to do is get people away from concentrating on the macros, as you said, and thinking about diet more in terms of what we were designed to eat. The one thing that I would say is that I think that a lot of the things that you're talking about, there's some relativism in there. When we use words like restriction, it's relative to who you're talking about. So for me, for example, where I'm at in my diet, using things like intermittent fasting, juice fasting, water fasting, they're really not restrictive to me. They're actually expansions of my consciousness rather than contractions. So I would say is, how would you approach two different types of people? One, what diet would you program for someone who is dealing with stage 4 cancer or has other really serious illnesses that are affected by diet and lifestyle? And also, how would you help someone who simply just doesn't have discipline or is struggling with emotional issues that prevent them from getting the motivation they need to stay on any kind of program that's not deleterious to their health?
I get it, Marcus. You're talking about me. Okay, continue.
Great question. For the person who's battling a disease, I would never tell this person what to eat. Even as a nutrition specialist, nutrition coach certified, I always direct somebody to a registered dietitian, because that is the one person who should be telling you, not anybody else, exactly what you should be eating. I provide guidance, so I would not be providing guidance for this person. I would be guiding them to a specialist.
In a hypothetical, which obviously I appreciate that was a very respectful acknowledgement of people in the medical field, for an example. But hypothetically, if you had someone, how would you program that?
I definitely would program it differently than the person who's battling the problem with being accountable for their actions and having that emotional behavior towards food. Those are two different people. So one has more medical issues, the other has more emotional ties to eating. And maybe that other person also just isn't responsible for their food choices. And that comes back to accountability. So I would definitely have this person who's trying to lose weight, just having a lot of issues with eating, start with a photo food log. It helps you become more accountable. And then if that person was a very emotional person, start journaling how they start to feel with certain meals. But the person with the medical approach, there are a great deal of benefits with intermittent fasting, with juice cleansing. I just think a lot of the times the general population will gear themselves towards it because they heard which celebrity was doing it last week, and then they jump on that train.
Just like the gluten-free trend, when everyone all of a sudden had celiac disease when it became popular.
Yeah, that's another big one. Everything is gluten-free. I mean, things that definitely don't have any sort of gluten and are obvious to the eye. It's like, oh, these eggs are gluten-free. I'm just like, why is this now a marketing tool? But it is, because
we couldn't be in any more agreement. But what I've learned to do is, and I learned this just recently, is that most of the diets that you see that are out there that are kind of fad, that are not going to intoxicate a person, like honestly, someone adapting a ketogenic diet, they'll have some short-term benefits, but they'll intoxicate their chemistry over the, midterm time or long-term exposure to that diet. But what I've learned to do is recognize that one of the positive things of the gluten-free movement is not that we took a bunch of non-celiac people and made them scared of bread, is that what it inadvertently did was it made people scared of processed food. And that's just where they're at. Unfortunately, taking the direct approach and saying, hey, look, it's not so much about what you eat, it's about what you eliminate from your diet that, gives you control of your chemistry. What we've done with diets like the gluten-free diet is we've made people think twice about eating Doritos or eating a junk food bread. And so there's a positive in that. Unfortunately, people associate the positive with the idea that they're doing a gluten-free diet rather than going, oh, wow, look at all the things I eliminated. So I see the benefit as someone who wants to help people at letting them start off with that versus trying to explain molecular chemistry to them on the first try.
Well, I mean,
most people won't understand that. You have to also think about when you're talking about people, everyone is so different. And that's why nutrition needs to be individualized. And I'm not just talking about how they're made up, but I'm also talking about their lifestyle, what they can afford to buy, where do they shop.
I couldn't agree with that more. I also think everybody processes things differently. And, what makes one, like when we had one of the guys on, he said he does better in carbs and that's just the way he was wired. One of the things, again, you taught me in watching some of your Instagram videos, I actually Googled to say, is this real? Because I didn't think this was true. And maybe, Marcus, I don't remember you saying this, but maybe you did. I don't, listen to you half the time. That certain exercises can actually boost your immune system. I'm aware, of course, diet can boost your immune system, but I didn't think, and it's not all exercise. I looked it up because like HIIT stuff doesn't, but long-term aerobic does. But I didn't know that movement could improve your immune system.
Yeah, it has a positive effect on your lymphatic system. Movement is crucial, I think. As we sit even more often during the times that we're in, people think that simply just standing up and bouncing through your balls of your feet has a great benefit than, I think it's all or nothing most of the times when people approach fitness. They think I have to run on the treadmill or I have to cycle 100 miles for this to be effective. But 3 minutes bouncing through the balls of your feet is incredibly powerful for your lymphatic system, which is, especially Marcus knows, has powerful effects on your immune system. Strength training as well. I wouldn't go too heavy, too hard on that because, again, too much stress has a negative effect, just like you mentioned with the HIIT. So yes, definitely.
As an old man of 50, is there movements that you feel work better for an old crotchety man like myself?
I would say
I know one movement that makes you feel better.
It's nice. Yeah. Let's keep it PG.
I wouldn't say age is a limiting factor. I would say, where are you starting, right? So if you're just starting out, I would always recommend low impact movements, and something that people don't think about. What does that mean? How do you, what is low impact? That just means easier on your joints. So I'm not going to have somebody start a set of mountain climbers or burpees by any means, or box jumps. You're going to start with calisthenics, like good old fashioned jumping jacks, even with your arms out to the side versus over the head. If you have any shoulder issues, highly effective. So low impact movements and starting with your body weight.
By the way, you don't know how much it breaks my heart that after these last 6 months of being able to run now about 12 miles every time I run, that you assume I'm just starting out. It makes me cry a little bit inside. Just so you know, by looking
No. I wasn't talking about you.
I get it, Jennifer. You're saying great shape, and I'm fat.
You know what? I want to go back to an earlier point. I think that I was a poor interviewer. I didn't stay on the topic, which is, if I'm going to help a mass of people, more than one person, more than 10 people, how do I deal with the large majority of people that I encounter that simply cannot discipline themselves? What is your approach? In other words, get someone who is willing to take photos of their food and journal and read your work or communicate with you directly. They're already showing that 25% above the zero line doing nothing. They're already showing the willingness, the disciplines there. And now obviously they're using you and your support
Mark,
group.
I cut you off. It moves nicely into what I was going to bring up next, because the J method in general is trying to appeal to the masses. So Marcus unwillingly knew that he made a good segue statement. So let's
thank you.
Yeah, it's good. Every once in a while you put a monkey at a typewriter, he's going to eventually spell something. So
thank you.
Congratulations.
Yes. So the J method is something I've come about over many, many years with my fitness and health approach. So I really like to think of it more as a mindset than a method of training, because I'm here to motivate and inspire people to resist any sort of limitation they've set on themselves. If someone told them they can't do this or shouldn't do that, and so they can unleash their best. And that means many things. It doesn't mean PRs, personal records, personal bests, but it just means they're pursuing better consistently on a daily basis. And when it comes to the training, though, my approach is geared towards everyone, from 15-year-olds to, on my platform on Ladder Team's app, I have a 85-year-old. So
even out of shape 50-year-olds like myself. Continue.
Not out of shape, but I'm trying to reach a broad group of people because I think fitness should be accessible. My goal in life is to reach the 80% who are sitting on their couch and still can't figure it out because it's so complicated. It really isn't complicated. It's just hard to get started. And I'm here to help people get started. So my approach rooted in functional training, but my goals through the J method are to help people improve the way they move, develop balance, and then redefine strength. And I mean so many things when I say redefine strength.
It's thejmethod.com, by the way, but it's a partnership with Ladders, which they're like a fitness app, and you are on that app. Am I explaining that correctly?
Yeah, I would say it as a partnership. It's one way to access the J method. I also offer one-on-one personalized training online. I've been doing this since right after recently Skype was released. So I've been doing this where I've trained people in their homes, or if they take me to the gym, virtually, well ahead of the digital fitness curve. And it's something I continue to do, but I'm only one person. And like I said, I want to reach this mass group of individuals. So one way to access the program the way I design training for my own personal clients on a weekly basis, every day lined out, is through the Ladder Teams app. And then I'm also exploring other ways to make it even more accessible. So you have free 99 on YouTube, right? For example, I want other ways that people can approach and follow along, but at the same time, make it their own. So that's the goal for me in these next coming years, is to find all these other ways to make myself even more accessible.
And one more question. I know Marcus has another question there, but I was want to ask the thing, because I was watching, I do my research when I bring someone on. I don't know your age, but I'm going to guess you're younger than liking the amount of 80s music that you tend to play. So what was the inspiration to find all that 80s music? Was there an older brother or someone that made you like all that music?
I would say I have a mother who has an excellent taste in music. I remember growing up riding around in her Corvette, listening to the Gap Band, Michael Jackson, Bon Jovi, I mean, everything. So I have that childhood memory of that. I definitely didn't grow up listening to 80s music in that regards. Yeah, I was listening to Jay-Z and, Kanye West.
Fair enough. Okay, Marcus, you look like you were pursed to say something.
Well, I was going to say that what I would ask is that your method, the J method, ultimately, without using the diet word in the bad sense, I use the word diet in terms of just the idea that I have a diet. I have a nutritional diet. I consume food. So your program is a diet and lifestyle program.
More so, yes, more so. I don't have a certain diet that I ask individuals to follow because I don't find that to be successful. Myself personally,
you're saying it's not an exacting plan, like it's 10:30, eat an apple at 10:00, at 10:41 you have to have your protein pack.
Not at all.
I got it. You're basically offering pattern changes in behavior, and through the pattern changes, the person's behavior changes, and then through that behavioral change over time, their emotional world improves.
Although I got to be honest, the 1041 have an apple diet sounds pretty appealing to me, Marcus.
Well, that's my plan.
It's so specific.
Wait, hold on. You distracted from what I was.
I'm sorry.
Presenting. Sorry about that, Jennifer.
What you were presenting. So, are you asking me what do I follow?
Basically saying I want to confirm though that your J method is a diet and lifestyle plan, but it's not specific. It's not super specific in terms of eat this at a certain hour or weigh your food.
Not at all. One of the principles is eat well. And, so many people can take interpretations of that. But what it comes down to is eating foods full of nutrients. You're not going to get that from a bag of Doritos. There's just no way.
But
education.
You would agree it's a diet.
Well, wait, how about this, Marcus? It's a method, hence the title.
Okay.
Yes.
It's important because
a method.
For a lot of people, diet
has a negative connotation for a lot of people. The word diet, it sounds negative. Like, oh, I'm not going to be able to I'm going to have to follow this and eat at that time. But if you just, which we've talked about a lot on the show, rethink your methodologies of what you can and get. Like just saying eat nutrient-dense foods makes it a little simpler. And when you're straying. Although I do think if you have a bag of Doritos and you sprinkle some protein powder on there, maybe it's good for you. I don't know.
I would not agree with that point, but 3 major principles of the J method is eat well, recover often, and train with a purpose. These are 3 things that are going to help you succeed in your fitness and health goals. Education is the biggest thing right there. Educating your client, educating the people who are following you.
With a goal, give me an example of a goal. You mean like for a look good in a dress? Like what's the goal? Like
there's so many goals. People come to me, they want to lose 80 pounds. I have clients who want to come to me, they want to be able to ride 100 miles on their bike.
Okay, fair enough.
So performance-based goals, physical goals. I have a gentleman, he wants to gain muscle. So we're trying to increase his caloric intake.
Mm-hmm. All right, that makes sense. Okay, and then, I know for a long time you were the senior Peloton instructor, right? That was like, I watched that again in my due diligence. Like the last day that you were at Peloton was like a big deal. Yes. I just, for the first time ever, because I bought a Peloton bike. It hasn't come yet. It takes like 3 months, but my trainer has a Peloton treadmill, and I took a class for the first time ever, which was fun. But it's amazing how many people are involved. Did you have I know it looked like you had a very amicable parting of ways. Was it something you agonized over for a while, or this was like you were developing this and you knew it was time to branch out?
Well, I actually had developed the J method before I joined Peloton, but I had realized, and it was actually a client who said to me, "What is your goal? What do you want to be able to do?" I said, "Well, I want to be able to have books. I'm looking at someone like Jillian Michaels. I was living in France at the time, and I was like, I want to have a career like that." And she goes, "Well, you're going to write a book. Your 12 clients are going to buy it, plus your mother. Who else is going to buy it? You need a bigger platform." So I took a look at what was happening in America. Again, living in France for the past 10 years. I said, what's happening? And cycling was really taking off with SoulCycle, Flywheel. No one really heard of Peloton. And somebody had said to me, "I saw this ad on Facebook. It looks like what you're doing with us, but they're reaching 100 people at one time." So I thought, okay, I'm going to take a look at this company. I went out to New York. I thought, I guess I might need a headshot. So I took these photos, my first photos ever taken. And I wrote really direct 5 sentences to this company. I sent it to some random email. I got a response. They said, "Unfortunately, we're not hiring, but if you'd like to come and take a free class." So that's how the start was for Peloton. I went to take the free class, and just within 5 minutes of meeting me, the woman was like, "Well, we definitely want to audition you."
That's cool. That's pretty
Yeah,
wild.
it was really cool. It was actually a fun time in New York at that point because I was really trying to explore all options. And I was thinking, okay, is it this thing called SoulCycle? I mean, this sounds kind of funky. I was not a cycling instructor, nor was I an entertainer. So I really thought already the barrier of entry is so high for me that I'm not going to appeal to any of these people. But I had something unique for Peloton at that point because they were only doing one thing, and that was cycling. And I didn't know this, but they wanted to expand into a different principle, which was strength. So I'm coming here with a very strong strength and performance background. It just was the right timing. And I experienced 3.5 years with the company, experienced an incredible amount of growth. When I first joined, there were about 15,000 bikes. So you were really lucky if you had 100 people on that leaderboard. And over time, it just mounted. And I think when I left, 5,000 people on a Friday at 8 to say goodbye.
I was shocked. I was doing a 45-minute run, and there was like, I don't know, 1,000 people with me on a run. It was crazy.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I always think of things in life. You need to be willing to take big risks. If not, you're going to stagnate in all things, right? Business, fitness. And when I approached Peloton, it was a huge risk. It was outside of my comfort zone. I thought, there's no way this company will want me. And after 3 years of being extremely successful as a top instructor for the company, I was no longer growing and not coming closer to my goal of being an authority in fitness. And I thought to myself, this is the hardest choice I'm going to ever have to make because I loved doing what I did. It came natural at a point. But another 3 years, I would have been 6 years in and an incredibly well-known cycling instructor. And that's not what my goals were at all.
Fair enough. That makes sense. Now, you guys brought up something. I have to run and get something for the show. I forgot to bring it in. So, Marcus, I'll be back in 30 seconds. I am sorry.
Hey, that's the way we do things around here. Well, I'm really happy to hear about what you're teaching in your diet plan because working at my company, Juice Press, really, I got to meet a very wide breadth of New Yorkers and to really learn over the 10 years that I was doing that, how people look at their diet. And through the help of one great mentor, his name is Fred Bishi, he really helped me to talk about lifestyle changes and diet changes in a way that's accessible and cuts through all the nonsense. And I'm very big opponent against making people crazy with weighing things and, counting calories and grams of sugar and fruit. I'm all about leaving out processed food. That's the core of what we do. And so, yes, it is restrictive in that one way, but it's based in reality, because besides just having weight loss goals, people want to live. So there definitely has to be some restrictive behavior in the programs that we write in the work that we're doing. But I think they're common sense restrictions. If you're telling a person like they have to stop eating candy and cookies and soda, when they're ready to do that program, that's That's the starting point.
When you eliminate processed foods, you eliminate quite a long list of horrible things that do a lot of damage internally as well as externally. It's such a struggle for most people because they go to the grocery store. What's at the grocery store? Packaged goods. You have a small section of plants and fruits and vegetables and a small section of grains. But for the most part, you're bombarded with packages, processed foods everywhere you go. Alcohol, that's processed as well.
Packages designed to be addictive, also designed to make you want more of it. So
commercials feeding you.
By the way,
it becomes where it starts to feed your emotions as well. And it depends how people were raised. So I just feel like when you set out a diet, this is the J Method diet, this is how I do it, that works for me. It's not going to work for Susie. It's not going to work for John. So being able to say, hey, listen, you're going to come at it with what you're starting at. And then hopefully along the way, you're going to be encouraged or influenced to make better choices that you might not have known to make. But I do agree, processed foods are what's so damaging to all of us.
And I'm the biggest advocate of saying we are all wired differently, not just for how you process things, but mentally as well. I mean, you guys are inherently probably most of your lives in good shape because that's how your brain is wired. Just like some people are wired to be great guitarists or great singers. That's just how they're made. And you can't apply the same standards to every person because it's going to change. But by the way, because we've had so many fitness people on this show, it has inspired me to write a book. So I'm going to hold this up. I just got my book here. Can you read that?
Yes, 100% guaranteed guide to weight loss and fitness.
Okay, and
is that you on the cover?
No, it's not me, but it's two models. And
should have been.
This is chapter 1.
Eat less.
Okay, hold on. This is chapter 2.
Work out more. Yes.
And the rest of the book is blank.
Oh, you just like fill in what?
No, you put in whatever you want.
Like.
That's it. That's all you need to do. This is what I have. I'm selling this now. It's
top seller right here.
It's going to be a top seller. I'm going to do the audiobook in several languages, and I'm looking forward to that as well.
It's actually brilliant. When you were talking about people who've always been in shape, right? It's really, sometimes it's frustrating to gain advice from them. You're like, well, you've always been fit. Or a lot of these influencers on Instagram, you're like, well,
right.
What have you really ever struggled with? That's just what that looks like. I mean, people struggle with so many things internally. But I have had 2 kids, and my first pregnancy was, I gained quite a lot of weight. I don't even remember how much at the end, but it was so much that after having the baby, I thought, I'm never going to be like I was, ever. I'm never going to be at that point. But with J Method, I definitely realized it's all about how you approach fitness. And one of the other principles of the J Method is train less and you're going to gain more. Meaning train less, gain more time, gain more results. Not everybody wants to lose weight. And I think we need to put that out there. Not everyone wants to lose weight. People want to gain muscle. They want to put on some pounds. But I do specialize in weight loss and movement.
Well, now
movement is key.
We're all successful book authors on fitness right here. So the jmethod.com. Anything else you want to plug, Jennifer, before we wrap this up?
No, just exactly what you have in your book. Eat less, move more.
Fair enough. Thank you so much for taking the time out. Marcus, any parting
Thank you.
thoughts?
I really appreciate this. This is great, big help for us. And you're spreading a very positive message. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me and allowing me on your platform.
Thank you so much for coming on.